We can't tell you how frustrating it was for us to upload our podcast when we first got started. The websites were clunky, we had data limits, and it was all so confusing. That is, until we found Zencastr. Zencastr is an online platform built for podcasters to not only upload their podcasts, track their listeners, connect their audience, and so much more. Zencastr plans have no upload or download limits, so your cost won't grow as you do. Embed their player that automatically updates to show the latest episode of your show. Zencastr lets you see your podcast downloads along with your traffic, website, and Google Analytics. Zencastr also supports multiple podcasts under one account. The best part is, if you already have a podcast on another platform, you can switch to Zencastr with a one-click importer, all free of charge. So what are you waiting for? Head over to howtomakeapodcast.co/Zencastr to start saving time and money with your podcast today.
To How to Make a Podcast. My name is John Bunn. I'm joined today by Nick Miller and a special guest, our good friend Kerry Egeler. He is the man behind all of our Facebook ads. If you're in our group because of Facebook ads, you owe it all to Kerry Egeler. So we are really excited today. I speak for Nick and myself to say how excited we are to have Kerry as our first guest, Nick, on the podcast. So welcome, Kerry Egeler. How are you doing, my friend?
Wow, I am honored to be the first one on the podcast. I'm doing great, guys. Thanks for having me on.
Of course, man. Nick, Kerry's here. I mean, it's a big day. We wanted to have him on because we started getting lots of questions and a lot of people asking us all about our lead magnets, our podcast magnet course. When is it coming? I know that people in the podcast blueprint are getting that as soon as it's done. And so people are just excited about these lead magnets, what they are, how to get them set up. But it's a little bit... I would say scary, maybe, Kerry, just a little bit to try to get them all set up.
Be scary.
And like, I remember I'm a pretty techie guy and like trying to get in there and it's like you're spending money and are you doing it right? And so you have done a lot when it comes to learning about Facebook and leads and all that stuff. So we wanted to have you on to talk all about that. But first, to the people that weren't a part of our podcast challenge, who are you? How'd you get to where you're at? Kind of give us a little bit of a picture of you, your life, your story.
Yeah, so my name's Kerry Egeler, and I'm the founder of Shirt School and the Impact and Action course launch method. And basically, I started out in T-shirts, selling T-shirts online. That was how I got into online business. And then about a year ago, I decided, hey, after like a couple of years of all these people, my friends asking me, how do you do that T-shirt thing? Like, you've been doing pretty good with those T-shirts. I decided to put out a course, teach people how to sell T-shirts online. So I did that, and that's like completely changed my life. So we have an online course, and we've got hundreds of students, and it's just a really, really cool, strong community. And then recently, in the last few months, I've started helping course creators actually launch their course and increase sales and that kind of thing. And so I've been doing that, and it's been really, really cool. So just lots of really fun stuff going on.
And just so the listeners know, he says he has hundreds of students. I've watched him from afar. I think I was actually a youth leader at a church where you were I've known you for quite a while, so I've watched you kind of grow up. I know you had another job, you're working in retail and kind of lost that job and got into like a pretty bad financial position, and to watch yourself claw out and just kind of be in this thriving position now, and it's so cool to watch and see. And I was watching you from afar, and it's like, okay, this guy's selling T-shirts. That's cool. And then it's like, I saw that you were launching a course on how to sell T-shirts and how to make, Shirt School and all this stuff. And then I was like, oh my goodness, there's like hundreds of people purchasing this. And so why don't you tell us a little bit of the story of like when you launched and what that has looked like for you, financially, whatever you want to share, just kind of what that's done for you since launch, whenever that was.
Yeah. So to keep it kind of brief, but go back a little bit further. You mentioned, I got fired from my job. I was in retail for like 6 years. I moved up in this company. I worked in the cell phone world, moved up in this company, and I loved my job. Like, my job was great. I worked a ton of hours, but like, I didn't know any different than just trading my time for money. I just thought that was what you do. I mean, I think that's what most people think. And so I ended up just one day abruptly getting fired, like super shocking and really hard to go through because I love this job and everything. And then a week later, we found out we were pregnant with our second child. And so I had no job. My wife was not working because she was living the dream, staying at home. I'd been, I was doing really well in my retail job and everything. And so we just had no income, a son, like a 1-year-old son, a daughter on the way, and house payments, car payments. I mean, tons of debt, like all of the stuff. So started selling T-shirts and, went through all the ups and downs of business that you kind of go through. And eventually I, started investing in myself more. I'm definitely giving you a short version here, but started investing in myself more with online courses and online training and that kind of thing, and started to figure that T-shirt thing out, and then started to really make, really good money with doing the T-shirt thing. And then, so last year, decided I want to start teaching people, launched my course, and it was kind of a screaming success from the beginning, but we've definitely grown a ton. Like we launched, and I think in the first week we did like 10K of our course, and it was cool. It was we launched it and everything, and I had never made 10K in a week, so I was like, holy crap, this is amazing.
Yeah,
so,
that's nice.
Yeah,
that is
so I did that, and then I would say over the next 3 to 4 months, we were consistently doing like 4K to 9K, but I was trying to figure out, like, I launched the course. Now, how do I sell it from here? Like, what do I do now? And I didn't know what to do. And so I joined a coaching program at the beginning of 2020, like a high level coaching program, which is a huge step for me and my family because it was really expensive, and I just felt like I needed to do it. I was like, it doesn't make sense financially for me to invest this amount of money to do it, but I did it. And long story short, January we did about 15K, and all going throughout the year we just kept increasing, and in June we did like $133,000
in 1 month.
June. Yeah, and that was with a challenge launch, which is something I've become really passionate about. I won't go into that right now, but we did a challenge launch and $133,000, and then in July we had our biggest non-launch month ever, and we did right at about $50,000 in July from our shirt course. And at the time of recording this podcast, I'm about to go into another challenge this next week. So I'm really excited about we're doubling down. We're going even bigger on the challenge. So we're hoping for a big launch.
And so I hope you're out there like Nick and I. I saw this and I was like, Kerry, what are you doing? And like he helped us launch our course, the podcast Blueprint, with a challenge, and it went really well. And we have plans moving forward with Kerry to have that course available, kind of like what he's doing, very similar. And he's helped kind of hold our hand through that. But Nick, we talk about this a lot, just like hiring a professional or learning from a professional. Kerry, you joined a mastermind group or a high-level coaching group, and the people that are listening to this podcast are investing into themselves by listening, and the ones that purchase the course are investing even more in it. The more that you invest into it, even financially, the more you put into it, the more that you get out of it. But you had to do a lot when it came to learning the back end of Facebook ads. I mean, you're using Facebook, Google, or Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, I believe so, for your ads. What type of things, like short story version, like did you read a lot of books? Do you take a lot of courses? Like what is your credentials for now helping other people do this, besides obviously the fact that you're rolling in cash and sleeping in beds of cash at this point?
Whatever, dude. Whatever. No, the one thing I want to say is the coolest part about everything that I get to do, and I think what you guys would say too, just because you're like, oh, you're rolling in beds of cash. It's not like that at all. But,
I just like to make you blush.
Yeah. The coolest thing is the impact, right? Like the life change that you can have on other people, like through your course, like people's lives are changed. They learn how to make money to provide for their families. And then the money that I make, like I've been able to buy my mom a car in cash, and we've given to done a bunch of different charities and different, obviously there's a lot of things going on in the world, and that's been an opportunity for us having a thriving business to donate to different things that, are making a huge impact. And that is absolutely the best part of what we get to do. And that's one of the things that drives me to make more money, is not because I need more money. It's because I really want to help other people. But as far as my credentials go, I don't have a marketing degree. And if you're listening out there, like, you don't need a marketing degree, I don't recommend putting that money into that, but I don't have a marketing degree. I have, I think there's two, to me, in business, like in online business especially, and probably in business in general, there's really two ways to do it. There's number one, you learn through trial and error, or number two, you invest in training and you shortcut everything. You get there way faster. And it took me about 2 years or so to realize that I could shortcut the path to success by just investing in a course or coaching or some kind of training. And once I did that, a bunch of different courses. I don't even know how many courses I've bought over the last couple years. Don't tell my wife. But and then the coaching on top of that. But Facebook ads courses, courses on how to build courses on how to do webinars, books on how to do webinars, how to write copy, how to do email marketing. I mean, I don't know how many courses I've invested in that has helped me kind of get to where I'm at, and I'm constantly learning. Podcasts. I mean, any way that I can get information and then go implement it. Mm-hmm. That's what I've done over the past couple of years to better myself and learn.
Yeah, I've watched him. Go ahead, Nick. I was gonna say I've watched him just every time I talk to him. He's like, I read this book. Have you read this book? Have you done that book? And so it's definitely, fun to watch.
But the cool thing is, sorry, I know Nick, you can chime in, but the cool thing is like, once you realize that if that you can go read a book and then you can go make more money, like, that's when everything changes. And so when that switch flipped in me, that was like, oh, if I go do a course, I will make more money. It was like, oh, I'll just keep buying more courses and keep reading more books, and I'll just keep making more money. And for me, that's what's happened, which has been just super cool.
Yeah, I love that you're talking about, investing in yourself and education and the important role of that. We live in a world where everyone's like, oh, you have to go to college if you want this, you have to do this, and you have to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars, and get into debt and, all this stuff just to make it in the world. And especially with the invention of online schooling and online education, like the kind of stuff that we're talking about, like the podcast blueprint, that's not me and John going to school to be podcast educators, right? It's us, doing the hard work for 2 years in our wedding podcast, and then just sharing the stuff that we had learned. And if we could have spent, $1,000, $2,000 to learn all this information that would have gotten us 2 years ahead, like, duh, of course, that's a 100% no brainer that we would do it. But when you're getting started and you're hearing this kind of stuff, you're like, ooh, that's a lot of money. And you're worried about that. And it kind of takes you a mind shift, kind of like you're talking about.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So the thing that we wanted to talk about today is, lead magnets and using Facebook and Google and YouTube and all these different things to get those. And with Kerry's help, he is the one that has set up all of our Facebook ads. If you've seen any ads from the podcast blueprint, if you've seen any ads about how to make a podcast, it's because Kerry was the one holding our hand, setting that up, telling us exactly what to do. And because of the steps and the things that Kerry has shown us and the things that Kerry has taught us, we're nearing 5,000 downloads in our first 3 months or so of having this podcast because of his help and that stuff. So as we, kind of get into this and continue this conversation, why don't you just kind of break down what a lead magnet is and, maybe some strategy when you're thinking about setting one up?
Yeah. So I was thinking about this a little bit, and I think it's interesting because, if you're out there and you're like, you're interested in this like online business or like entrepreneurship thing, you listen to guys like Gary Vee and these big, big names, and they're always telling, like, I feel like it's always being crammed into my brain, like, give value first, give value, like, you got to build value, but I think like if you're just starting out or you've never done this kind of stuff, or even if you have been doing it for a while and you're not seeing the sales that you want, you're like thinking, how do I give value but still sell? Like, how do I actually give the value? And what's cool is a lead magnet is basically that is I'm going to give you value in exchange for your email address and or whatever I ask you for. I could ask you for your phone number or your name or whatever, but I'm going to give you something of value and all you have to give me back is your email address. And that's all a lead magnet is. It's an exchange of value. They give you something of value, you give them something of value. And it's really cool because I was just going to say that, a lot of people running Facebook ads, they put out these ads on the internet or really anywhere. They may put an ad out there that just says, "Hey, do you want to buy my program? Or do you want to buy my thing?" It's like, no, I don't want to buy your thing. I don't even know you. You haven't provided me any value or done anything for me. So what a lead magnet is it's saying, "Hey, do you want to go on a date with me? And let's go on a few dates and get to know each other. And then do you want to marry me?" Right? It really is that simple. It's like, instead of just walking up and going, "Hey, will you marry me?" You go in and say, "Hey, let me show you some things. Let me teach you some stuff. Let me give you this cool checklist or cheat sheet or, top 10 list or a case study or, whatever, a little webinar video, training video." And then you get their email and then you just talk to them and create a relationship for a little bit. And then eventually you can sell to them and they're probably going to buy from you because you've built value with them through the lead magnet and through the email. So that's basically what a lead magnet is just that introductory kind of, "Hey, do you want to go on a date with me?"
Yeah. And so would you say that that's kind of your general strategy, for creating one is, just getting people to know you and your brand and your face and your message and all of that stuff, just constantly be in front of them, that I think it was Jasmine Starr who used to be a big time wedding photographer. Now she's kind of in the Instagram world and kind of, coaching people on how to grow their Instagram accounts. But she's like, if you're not talking about your business, no one else is going to be talking about your business. Like if you're not talking about your podcast, no one else is going to be talking about your podcast. So when you're creating this lead magnet, you're just constantly showing up. You're like that annoying guy that asks that girl out 100 times before she says yes, right? Like that kind of thing. So just making something to add value to your listener's life. Like that's really what you're looking for, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's like I was saying, it's just like, you want to give them something of value and you want them to become, you want them to become a part of your community and maybe subscribe to your YouTube or maybe go subscribe to your podcast, and with the goal of eventually down the line, probably wanting to sell them something, So, I think in terms of building a podcast, this is the strategy that we've used to, like you said, you guys are almost at 5,000 downloads in 90 days, which is incredible. But it's because you put something of value out in the world before launching that podcast and built up an email list and a community that you could then go talk to and say, "Hey, we launched a podcast, go listen to it." And they're going to be so warmed up to and open to the idea of listening to your podcast because you've been building value with them for X amount of days, weeks, or months, right? Mm-hmm. So they're so much warmer and willing to,
and
see what you have to offer.
When we got going, you and I sit down actually in this office and we built some audiences, just around the idea that we talk about this a lot, but attracting and repelling. And like we wanted to repel people that just wanted to do podcasting as a hobby or would be a troll, or like we wanted to attract people that were entrepreneurial that wanted to turn this into something that could make them an extra $200-$300 a month, $1,000 a month. Just people that would be attracted to the idea of generating revenue with their podcast. And so we defined our audience and we were able to set up strategic ads that, people that liked Gary Vaynerchuk, but also liked podcasting, or, and you could set locations and set different things. And so we set these things up, and then you start running them, and then you can start tweaking them. And there's a lot of strategy that goes behind that. But we were able to attract a lot of people really quickly. We're already over 5,000 people on our email list in a very short amount of time for not that much money. And we want to break that down a little bit more on like kind of the spend, what people should be doing. And we're going to do that right after this break. If you have a pulse, you probably hate the subject of taxes and running the bookkeeping portion of your business. But like it or not, if you want to be a successful podcaster, you are going to have to pay attention to your numbers. But don't worry, we have the answer for you, Core Financial. Our friends over at Core Financial have taken the pressure off of us so we can focus on what we love doing most, running our podcast. They take care of all of our taxes, monthly bookkeeping, financial plans, and make sure we take full advantage of all of the tax benefits we qualify for. It just feels good knowing we aren't going to get a big surprise during tax season. If you are serious about building a business with your podcast, head on over to howtomakeapodcast.co/core to see what they can do for you.
So you've got everything you need for your podcast. You've recorded your audio and video. You're so excited. But wait, you don't know how to master the audio or edit the video of your podcast. We know someone who can help. The podcast editors. Picture this. You record both audio and video for your podcast. You upload it to your remote editor, and a few days later, your podcast is ready for you to upload and push to the world. What will you do with your extra time? Connect with sponsors? Grow your Facebook group? Start that project or even course you have dreamed of for months? The possibilities are endless. We are blown away by the podcast editors and love working with them and using their services. They can edit audio, video, or both for your podcast. Don't get stuck trying to do this on your own. Get in touch with the podcast editors today. If you'd like to save 50% off of your first project, head over to howtomakeapodcast.co/thepodcasteditors.
And we are back from break with Kerry Egeler, the man behind all of the ads for How to Make a Podcast. Kerry, we're gonna start this section with the question of the day presented by Zencast. Zencast is who we use to upload our podcast. It's our host. You definitely want to check them out. howtomakeapodcast.co/Zencast. The question of the day: how much money should you spend on lead magnets?
Well, the cool thing about Facebook ads is you can start with whatever you want to start with. I mean, if you literally wanted to start with $1 per day, you could start with $1 per day. And, I think you would get a few leads. If you have a solid lead magnet, I think you would get a few leads. I recommend, when you're starting out on Facebook ads and when you're testing, I like to recommend at least $10 per day. Years ago, we would test with $5 per day. I think nowadays, 10 is the sweet spot to start testing. And then as you kind of see what your results are like and how cheap you're able to get people opting into your lead magnet, then you can raise that budget. But I would start with $10 per day. I think it's important to test. So it's important to have a few different images, maybe a video, a few different text to go along with it. We call it ad copy, but text to kind of go along with that ad. Just trying a few different things. And also trying a few different audiences, thinking about when you're trying to figure out who you're going to send these ads out to, you're thinking about what celebrities are they interested in, what magazines do they read, what Facebook pages do they like, what, all these kind of things. And then what general interests do they have? Are they into, like we talked about, entrepreneurship or any kind of general interest? And then also think about demographics. Demographics is really important. What age group are they in? Are they married? Are they single? Are they engaged? All those kind of things. How many kids do they have? That's a big one. You can even target down to, what operating system they have on their phone. Are they using iOS or Android? That kind of thing. Mm-hmm. So those are the things to think about when targeting. I would start with at least $10 per day. And if you have the budget to test a couple different audiences, I would do that as well.
Yeah, I think we started with $30 a day is what we started with, and we ended up ramping it up at one point to almost $100 a day, but have only spent a few $1,000s at this point to get the few thousand emails.
Yeah, one
it's
thing
been really cool.
Yeah, one thing I wanted to point out, with our how to make a podcast ads, for whatever reason, there's this one that we did that is my face that is outperforming every single other ad
It's that
we've
good-looking
done.
beard. It's that beard.
Yeah, it's probably my beard. And the reason why Kerry is saying that you need to have multiple ones, we for this one that we did, we had 4 different pictures with 2 of them said how to make a podcast, my face on it, John's face on it, and then another one was about how we made $15,000 a month podcasting. One with my face, one with John's face. For whatever reason, that one with my face was the one that really stuck out. On the flip side, whenever John and I did our wedding videography course back in February, there was this one image that had John on it that outperformed everything else. So that's one of the reasons why I think maybe people fail when it comes to ads, is they spend all this time and all this energy to make one ad. And for whatever reason, maybe it's the text, maybe it's the font, maybe it's the color, maybe it's the copy, all of that stuff, it just doesn't resonate with people for some reason. And so that ad underperforms, right? So that's why
you're absolutely right.
So I'm sure there are people out there right now that have listened to what you just said, talking about audience groups and demographics and ad money and, all of that kind of stuff. I'm tracking with you because I'm in the world a little bit. I understand it. But I know that we have all been working together on something that's really cool. Whenever we had our podcast blueprint challenge a few weeks ago, you came on and you talked about, the power of lead magnets and ads and stuff. And we've been working together to put together something really cool called the podcast magnet. So can you fill our listeners in on what the podcast magnet is?
Yeah, so this is something really cool, and it's the podcast magnet is basically a training, with me, where I walk you through step by step how to set up your Facebook ads for lead magnets to actually grow your list and ultimately to get people listening to your podcast. And it's basically the strategy we've used, us 3 have used to grow, to start and grow your, this podcast, and how you guys have been able to get the 5,000 downloads, in a short period of time. And the thing I would say is what's really cool, and I kind of touched on this earlier, is, if you look at Facebook ads, if you go out there and you're like, you have no idea what you're doing, you're brand new, and I totally get that. It can be very overwhelming. There's a million options inside Facebook Ads Manager, and you get in there and you're like, what the heck do I click on? What is a conversion and a pixel and all this stuff? Like, you have no idea. And kind of what I mentioned earlier is when you invest in like a course or training, you get the exact here, just click on this button, just hit this thing, just type it in this way. You get to cut through all the noise and just go straight to the exact strategy that you need to get the end result that you want. And so if you're wanting to grow a podcast, and that's what this podcast is all about, like you either have a podcast, you're wanting to start a podcast, or you want more listeners, in the podcast magnet, I just give you the exact step-by-step, like click here on this thing, target this way, here's the budget, here's how to write an ad, here's what what kind of images you should to test. I even show them one of you guys' simple lead magnet funnels. It's a 2-page website that basically says, give me your email, I'll give you this thing. And then it has a thank you page that says, thanks for giving me the thing, and here's what you should do next, right? So I even show you that, so you kind of know what a simple 2-page website would look like in order to get people to give you their email and start building that list and promote your podcast. So that's kind of what it is. It eliminates the overwhelm, right? It eliminates the headaches of Facebook ads, the overwhelm of Facebook ads, because you can just go, here's the exact strategy. Step 1, do this. Step 2, do this. Super simple and easy.
And I watched through this course, you sent it over to us, and I was expecting kind of something very basic, and it was very easy to walk through. You share your screen as you are, walking through building an ad for our How to Film Weddings course launch that we're doing. And, you show us exactly where to click the button and where to do. And if I would have had this tool whenever I started, it would have saved me hundreds of hours of time in figuring things out. And you've compiled all this information down into exactly what podcasters need to start growing, their podcast. If you even have a podcast already and you're just wanting to grow that list, $10 a day or a few bucks a day. And like Kerry just walked through everything, like every single detail, showing you where to click with the updated Facebook, ads platform. So if it's something that's been overwhelming to you, we wanted to create this for you because I'm a guy that's like, I don't need to know necessarily why everything's doing what it's doing on Facebook. I just need to know what buttons to click to get the thing that I want. And that's exactly what this is. And, it's about an hour long, a little bit less than that, just walking through step by step everything. And if you're out there, thinking I want to do this, I think we should tell them, Nick, as of right now.
Tell them.
As of right now, it's inside of our shop at howtomakeapodcast.co/shop. We have a special going on this week only. If you use the code MAGNET25, the word magnet, all caps 25, you'll get 25% off of the course for the first week. It's just kind of a launch week bonus for you. If you've purchased the podcast blueprint course, this is already in your course for free. That's part of the bonuses that we gave there. So it's there, it's live. We're super pumped about it.
Yeah, it's going to be a really great resource. I know that it's that thing that we wish that we would have had when we started going. So that's one of the reasons why we wanted to create this and make it helpful for others. So Kerry, thank you so much for coming on and just kind of talking through some of this stuff today, about building lead magnets and that sort of thing. If people are interested in, learning more about what you do and maybe learning more about how to do, magnets even in deeper detail, or want to learn some stuff from you, where should they go? Where should they check that out?
Yeah, they can just go over to bestcourselaunch.com. There's actually a lead magnet there. So when you get to that page, you can grab a quick lead magnet from me. It's anybody interested in launching any kind of online course, digital course. That's the place to go. You can also follow me on Instagram. It's just at Kerry Egeler. It's KerryEgeler. And yeah, I'd love to hear from you. Shoot me a DM. Love to talk to you and chat.
There's seriously so much knowledge that you bring. I mean, you helped us a ton with our challenge. You've helped us with our, 2 different course launch type things. And if you're out there listening, one of the things that we talk about monetizing all the time is with a course or with some type of digital product. And if you're at all interested in growing that side of your podcast as well, get on Kerry's list and learn from him. He might be able to help you with a course of your own. So Kerry, dude, it's so cool to have you on this podcast, watching you from the last 10, 15 years of life and seeing how successful you are and just every month being even better than the last. It's so cool to see you doing that and watch you put in that work and digging over time and watch it pay off. So thank you so much for being on. We seriously appreciate it.
Thank you guys. Appreciate it. This is a lot of fun.
Yeah, man. So Nick, it's the end of the episode.
It is the end of the episode. So again, we want to reiterate, if you're interested in picking up the podcast magnet, all you need to do is head over to howtomakeapodcast.co/shop. Click on the podcast magnet picture, and then make sure you put in promo code MAGNET25. That's MAGNET25 for 25% off your purchase. John, it's been great to hang out with you. Kerry, thanks again for showing up and talking with us today. And until next time, we will see you.
See ya.